Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN. That's 710 ESPN LA. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's over the national airwaves of ESPN Radio. Sirius XM style. Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-3776. That's 866-729-ESPN. I am coming at you live from Texas. We just did First Take live from Texas, right outside of Dallas for the fans there and the whole bit. Had to put on my cowboy hat and all of that stuff. I had a ball. It's time to get into some real football because I'll be damned if it's about the Cowboys. I got to get into a lot of stuff today, and we're gonna start off by talking about what we witnessed last night. We're going to start off by talking about the shellacking that the New England Patriots essentially took place, particularly in the fourth quarter against the Kansas City Chiefs. And really what it comes down to is a legitimate question about what do you peel from this most of all? Do you peel from it a bad night for the Patriots or the Kansas City Chiefs being a hell of a lot better than we ever thought they would? I think you can look at it both ways. You got this kid, Patrick Mahomes, that was drafted in the first round by the Kansas City Chiefs. It seemed to bring out something special from Alex Smith. I mean, the hell with the numbers that he put up for a second there, what I was shocked most by was the fact that I watched Alex Smith perform the way that he performed. He was willing to take chances. He was willing to throw that damn football. I mean, a 75-yard hookup to this kid Hunt. You know, you just look at it from the perspective that you got to look at it from, and you just say, wait a minute, Kansas City is a team to be reckoned with. Kansas City is a team that can't be ignored. Kansas City is a team coached by Andy Reid who's more than capable of getting some stuff done. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Kareem Hunt, a rookie, 17 carries for 148 yards, including a 58-yard run. Tyreek Hill with Kareem Hunt, 133 yards receiving on 7 receptions from Tyreek Hill, including a 75-yard touchdown. 98 yards receiving from Kareem Hunt, including a 78-yard touchdown. Meanwhile, Tom Brady, at age 40, you know you're going to hear this story. That birth certificate, it hit 40 years of age. He didn't seem to be what we're accustomed to seeing him be. He didn't complete 20 of his 36 passes. 16 for 36 for 267 yards. Tom Brady with a 45 QBR. Did you hear what I just said, ladies and gentlemen? That is not something that we're accustomed to seeing from Tom Brady. Now, in fairness to him, there was no Julian Edelman. He's out for the season with his ACL injury. Danny Amendola went out in the fourth quarter. I mean, he had a good night receiving 6 catches for 100 yards. But the bottom line is he had to leave in the fourth quarter because of a head injury. Malcolm Mitchell wasn't there either. So you got Brandon Cooks. Chris Hogan was a non-factor. Only had about 1 reception for 8 yards. Gronkowski only had 2 receptions for 33 yards. Couldn't hold on to a touchdown pass. You heard what Belichick had to say. You heard what Tom Brady had to say, speaking about the lack of urgency. If you're Belichick, speaking about the fact that you weren't good on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. This was a bad, bad night for the New England Patriots. There's no way around it. But forgive me if I'm not in panic mode. When you take into account the preseason and how you can do but only so much to prepare yourself for the regular season because of the absence of practices, in pads anyway, when you take that into account along with the fact that Edelman, Brady's primary target, was out of the mix, when you combine that with there still being durability issues because there's injuries all over the place, and thank God Hightower didn't end up out because we all thought that once he initially went down, you saw the players just looking around in absolute panic mode. You have to look at it from the perspective that, hey, right now, as you're looking at the New England Patriots, is this what they're going to be? Come on, you know better. The flip side, however, is that Kansas City won this game. You never know in a head-to-head matchup when you're trying to decide seedings whether or not that can factor into the equation. Because if you're the New England Patriots and you have to go to Arrowhead Stadium, that's entirely different than having to go to Foxborough or having to play at Foxborough. This is not going to impact New England in any way because the bottom line is we expect them to win the AFC East because when don't they? But the flip side to it is that if you're New England, you look vulnerable, didn't you? If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm thinking differently. If I'm Kansas City, I'm thinking differently. If I'm Oakland, who gets to play New England later on in the year, I'm thinking differently. Because if Tom Brady don't have the requisite weapons to throw the football to, what you going to do? If there's no Malcolm Mitchell, if there's no Danny Amendola, and we already know there's no Julian Edelman, and you're relying on Cooks and Hogan to get it done for you, along with Rob Gronkowski, who, by the way, did not look like a dude well-rested. Had to miss a few games last year due to his back. Wasn't able to play in the Super Bowl. Had the entire offseason to get ready. And was walking around like my man Nuno, one of my producers. Rob Gronkowski did not look great. He did not look great. And there's no Martellus Bennett there. He's now with Green Bay. So you got problems at your tight end spot. You got problems with your receivers. James White can run the football for you, but he's no LeGarrette Blount. Might better in some ways, might be worse in some ways. He ain't the most rough and rugged dude in the world. I respect him, though. Suddenly now, we got to start asking a question. First of all, how vulnerable do you think New England is, number one? Number two, how good do you think Kansas City is? And number three, if indeed you do believe that the New England Patriots are vulnerable, who do you think is the team that's going to take full advantage of that? Is it going to be Pittsburgh? Is it going to be Kansas City? Is it going to be Oakland? Is Denver going to come into the mix? Is somebody from the AFC South like the Tennessee Titans going to come into the mix? Will the Cincinnati Bengals finally answer the bell when it counts in the postseason? The list goes on and on and on. The number to call up is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Lots of stuff to get into. Got a full slate of NFL games to go over for this particular day because the NFL season is opening, as we all know. You got Seattle going to Green Bay. That's a big-time game. You got the Eagles going to play the Redskins. You got the Giants visiting the Dallas Cowboys right here in Big D, where I'm at. You got a whole bunch of stuff going on, stuff that can't be ignored, stuff that we have to pay attention to. Plus, we'll have to get into Kevin Sumlin and him receiving threats, his family receiving threats just because of this loss to UCLA after giving up a 34-point lead last weekend. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. We've got our resident handicap extraordinaire, RJ Bell, who'll be on the line with us to handicap some of these games taking place this coming Sunday. All of that and more coming up next. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. It's Stephen A. from Big D coming at you live on ESPN Radio. Holla.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776. Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay.
Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Lots of stuff to get into. Let's get right to it at 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Remember, founder for pregame.com. Resident handicapper for, highlighting stuff for AP. Resident handicapper for the show, RJ Bell. He'll be on with us in hour number 2. But let's get to the phones for now, man. Talk about what happened last night. Let's talk about what we think is going to happen this weekend. Let's go to Justin in Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A., big fan of the show, and I really respect your opinion on sports. I agree with you a lot of the time. I think the Patriots really got exposed last night, and they're definitely vulnerable. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers coming out of the AFC and the Giants coming out of the NFC. But, I mean, really what it comes down to, I think Brady really might have taken a step back being at age 40 and maybe he's starting to degress a little bit.
Come on, Justin. It's one game. He don't deserve that.
We saw it last night.
I'm not disputing. Hold it, Justin. Hold it. I am not saying you didn't see it last night. I'm saying it's one game. a 5-time Super Bowl champion who's fresh off of winning Super Bowl MVP honors after overcoming a 25-point deficit? Does he deserve for you to be saying, I think it's over after one game, which is the very first game? You don't think he deserved the benefit of the doubt, Justin, just for more than one game?
Say that again, Stephen? I couldn't hear you.
I talked to you later because you weren't listening. You were busy talking. You wasn't listening. You're going to listen now. Here's the deal. He's Tom Brady. It was one game. Can we give him more than one game, please? Do you really think that Tom Brady – by the way, he didn't have Julian Edelman. Danny Amendola goes down in the fourth quarter. Chris Hogan couldn't get open. Brandon Cooks is new to the squad. Rob Gronkowski doesn't look like himself. Can we take those things into consideration before writing off Tom Brady as if he's the problem? Can we do that? I'm just wondering. Marcus, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up?
Stephen A., good afternoon, brother. I'd just like to make a point that Tom Brady, in 3 times that they lost the season opener, they have went on in that same year to win the Super Bowl.
That is correct.
However, with that being said, I like my Pittsburgh Steelers to overcome that hurdle that is the New England
All right,
Patriots.
tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why do you like it? What makes you like it?
Was exposed and decimated by Alex Smith last night. And I think that's one of the biggest obstacles that the Pittsburgh has had to overcome in the past. Historically, the Patriots have owned the Steelers. And, you know, a lot of times it's Tom Brady tearing up the defense, whether it be in the AFC Championship, just like Ben's rookie year, just like it was last year. But I think we upgraded with T.J. Watt. I think we upgraded with Joe Hayden. And I think if the proper coaching on defense can hold the Patriots down, Big Ben with Antonio Brown and all those weapons he has on offense, if Martavis can stay off the funky stuff, I think he will destroy that New England defense.
Well, listen, I'm not worried about the Steelers' offense against anybody. I'm worried about the Steelers' defense, primarily their secondary. The acquisition of Joe Hayden after he was let go by the Browns, I believe, buffers them significantly, assuming he's healthy and ready to go, which he says he is. The flip side to it, however, is that what if he's not? What if their secondary is still suspect? What if they're not able to step up and handle their business the way we'd like them to? That's what I think we've got to consider with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is why I'm reticent about them. But we'll see. I hope you're right. I can tell you that much. Let's go to Mike in Denver. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mike?
What's up,
Mike
man?
in Denver. What's up, man? Go ahead, buddy.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Talk to me. You're live on the air, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, I ain't doing nothing. I was just calling about the game last night, man. I don't know why they jumping on Tom Brady so early, man. You already know what that is. Ain't nothing but the first game. You know they're going to bounce back, like always.
I got you. Listen.
You know?
We assume they're going to bounce back. The only reason why I'm hesitant is because they got too many injuries, man. Malcolm Mitchell, Danny Amendola now, Julian Edelman before that, and Rob Gronkowski does not look healthy. And you lost Martellus Bennett in the offseason because he went to Green Bay.
Right,
So
right.
I got a lot of questions about, the weapons. It's not about Tom Brady. It's about who's playing with him. He can't do it. He can't do it by himself. You can say anything you want about Tom Brady. The one thing that I can unequivocally promise you, Tom Brady cannot do, that is impossible for him to do, is catch the damn balls he actually throws. He can't do both. He is the quarterback. He throws it, somebody else got to step up and catch it.
Right. And before you let me go, man, I'm going to see my brother Fatty today. He told me to tell you hello. My family up here from D.C. is going to visit him too. So, man, I like listening to you more than I like talking to you. Have a good day, man.
Tell him I said what's up. You do the same, man. Let's go to Zach in New York. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Zach? How are you?
Doing good, Stephen A.
Talk to me. What's up?
Just want to let you know that Dak Prescott's going to have his breakout year, which he had last season. But I think the Cowboys are at least going to make the conference finals.
Well, listen, that's wishful thinking. That's hopeful thinking. Here's my whole point. There are 2 teams in the NFC that I think are definitively better than the Dallas Cowboys. They are the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. Can you deny that?
That's right.
Okay. So if you can admit that, then ain't no way they go into the conference finals. They might get to a divisional playoff round. I personally don't care. As long as the Dallas Cowboys ain't hosting the Lombardi Trophy, that's all I care about. That they end up losing. That's all that matters to me. That's all that matters to me.
Just the last thing I'm going to say. My dad's been a Cowboys fan since he was 8 years old. He's 47 next month. And he passed on a tradition to me. And I'm letting you know right now, the Cowboys going to Super Bowl for the next 5 years.
Oh, please. Why don't you tell me the sky is blue and all of this other stuff? You giving yourself a 5-year window. You're really stepping out on a limb there, Zach. Congratulations. Bravo. Bye. Joe in New York, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. I just wanted to say that I think it was 2 seasons ago where the Patriots played the Chiefs on a Monday night game. I think it was week 3.
Destroyed them.
Yeah, and everybody's saying the same thing that, the Patriots this, the Patriots that, and then they went on a little run. So, I mean, it's like you said, it's early on in the season. People got to just, respect the Patriots way, and, we'll see what we come with week 8. And I just want to say, while you're down in Dallas, give those Cowboys fans some hell for me.
I already did. I spent all morning on First Take giving them hell. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Jordan in Washington, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Jordan? How are you?
Hey, what's going on, brother? How is your Friday going?
I'm doing all right. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, did Max dig in on you yet? Because I haven't watched First Take.
I'm not going to answer. Call me. Talk to me off some other day about that. I don't give a damn about whether Max is trying to get in on me or not. I'm doing my radio show. It ain't the Max Kellerman radio show. It's the Stephen A. Smith radio show, bro. Go ahead, make your point.
I know. No point. Last night's game was crucial in a way, setting the tone for the season. I think KC might make some noise, man. I'm a Raider fan. And a Bears fan, got to have an AFC and NFC team. So hopefully it ain't going to be too much stuff for my Raiders. But, yeah, you said Tom Brady had some disabilities last night. He really did. He didn't have his guys. He was doing his best. But, again, if there's 11 guys on the field, you can't just put it on one guy and say, well, Tom Brady's declining
especially
because he had no weapons.
Especially when they're falling down like flies and he may not have them available to him. I mean, he can't catch the ball. He can't catch the balls he throws. Somebody else got to do that. And they got to get open to do that. I'm not looking at Tom Brady and thinking he's 40, so there's slippage. I'm not buying that. Not by a long shot. I got to see more in order to disrespect him like that. Got to go.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Back to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. I got to tell y'all this. Watching this stuff right now, as an aside, with these Los Angeles Dodgers, we were talking about the Dodgers, how loaded they were, and how once Kershaw came back off the DL, they were going to be special. 11 losses in 12 games. This is before yesterday. But supposedly Clayton Kershaw was pitching last night. And the Dodgers had won 16 consecutive starts with him. And then the next thing you know, he gives up 3 runs on his first 14 pitches. 3 runs on his first 14 pitches. Clayton Kershaw. Now I got news for y'all. And I'm going to say this. The Arizona Diamondbacks have been balling. Cleveland Indians, obviously a story in and of itself. I mean, they won like 15 straight. Terry Francona, he just managed his tail off. Even though I picked the Cubs to win the World Series last year, he had me nervous. Because Francona knows what he's doing as a manager. Kudos to him. But getting back to the Dodgers, Arizona's balling. The Cubs are relevant. And if Bryce Harper comes back, who knows with the Nationals? Look, man, all this noise we've made about the Dodgers winning and just cruising to the World Series, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. They're in some trouble, y'all. They're in some trouble. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Let's go. Oh, I'm sorry. Some news. Eric Berry, star quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, done for the year. Ruptured Achilles tendon. It's official. He is out for the year. That's a devastating blow to Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. So even though they won last night, in some respects they lost. One of the things that I said on the air that I'll say now is this. Eric Berry was going through a lot. He was battling cancer a couple of years ago, if I remember correctly. It takes a very, very brave person to do what he's done. Give him credit where credit is due. I'm not happy that he's out for the year. I'm not happy that he's injured. But he got his money contractually when he signed that deal last year. And this, as bad as it may be, sad from a football perspective, when it comes to him, let's put it all in perspective. He could have been missing out on playing football for a far, far, far more serious reason. He can come back from this. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. By the way, what effect do you think his departure will have on the Kansas City Chiefs' success this season or lack thereof? Worth thinking about. Dwayne in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., what's going on, man? Big fan of the show. How you doing, brother?
Thank you. Go ahead, bro.
Looking at last night's game, the Patriots have been exposed since the Super Bowl, but it's only the first game. I like my chances as an Oakland fan in the AFC. But
Hold on, you lost me.
Oakland.
Hold on, you lost me for a second. What do you mean they've been exposed since the Super Bowl? This is the first real game since the Super Bowl.
Exactly my point, but based off of what we seen last year with most of the same people coming back, they got a little stronger with Gilmore at corner, which was a no-show last night. I'm just looking at all of that, at everything that happened. Now you throw what everybody was able to look at over this past year and attack them. So I'm looking at everything from that perspective, looking at how they're going to move forward, plus the injuries that you spoke on, which is very true. They might do something, but I don't think they're going to be as strong as last year.
Well, they may not be as strong as last year. Last year, they were motivated by Tom Brady being out the first 4 games. Jimmy Garoppolo and then Jacoby Brissett were your quarterbacks for the first 4 games, and they went 3-1. I mean, you got to look at it from that perspective. I mean, they were highly motivated. Tom Brady was rested and ticked off, and the team had rallied around him. So a lot of things were working in their favor. That doesn't appear to be the case this year because they won despite it all. They captured the championship, and now they are back to being the hunted. And that has a lot to do with it, too, to some degree, not to mention health issues.
Yep. Also, I think it opens up a lot more in the AFC, primarily for Pittsburgh and everybody else that's fighting for that spot now.
Well, it does. No question about it. Because I won't say everybody, but I would say Kansas City, Oakland, and Pittsburgh are the 3 teams that stand to benefit most for any troubles that come the New England Patriots' way. Appreciate the call, bro. Thank you. Tony in Seattle, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., love the show, man. First-time caller.
Go ahead.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to, talk about Tom Brady and the Patriots. What about I know it's too early and we all know that, but the Miami Dolphins coming out of the AFC East.
Oh, please. Jay Cutler's your quarterback. Jay Cutler's your quarterback. You're not getting me there. I don't believe in him.
We can fantasize. And what if he does something? I mean, if they go, 11-5, 10-6 again and make it to the playoffs and give him a run with being in that same division and Adam Gase being the new head coach and the way he's working with, worked with Cutler and
I do not believe in Jay Cutler at all. I know you got Jarvis Landry. I know you got Ajayi rather. I know you've got some components on the offensive side of the ball that could do some things. It remains to be seen what you're going to do defensively. I am not a believer in Jay Cutler. I'm just not a believer. I got to see it to believe it. Until I see it, I'm not believing in a damn thing when it comes to him. Sorry. Have a nice day. Eric in San Diego, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, Stephen? How you doing this morning?
I'm good. Talk to me.
You're in that infested place where Cowboy Nation is, and I can't stand the Cowboys. Real quick, I'm a big-time Giants fan. Hopefully they'll put the pressure on Dak Prescott, having back there tap dancing like the late great Gregory Hines, as you would say, and hopefully we'll sum it up with the win. And do you think Eli Manning is still among one of the best quarterbacks in the league, elite quarterbacks in the league?
No. Not amongst the elite, but he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's a 2-time champion. He's going to get strong consideration for the Hall of Fame, if not goes in altogether. I think the ultimate thing that's held against Eli Manning is that he's never been his brother, even though he has just as many rings. And I think that a lot of things should be credited to the Giants' offensive line woes, along with the inability to have a stout running game. Because I think if Eli Manning had that available to him, I think Eli Manning would be even better. But he hasn't been. But he hasn't missed a game in a decade. He's been Mr. Reliable. He's shown up in big moments. It ain't his fault that Odell Beckham and Sterling Shepard and those guys were dropping passes last year against Green Bay. So we've got to take all of those things into consideration and give Eli the respect where it's due. But when you think about the elite quarterbacks, you don't really think about him. You don't look at Eli Manning and see Drew Brees or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. Or you might think a little bit along the lines of a Big Ben Roethlisberger, but not even that sometimes. So that's how I look at it.
Cool. Okay. And I respect that opinion, and I've had that debate with amongst other friends of mine, for the longest, as far as his durability. And, I mean, he's always reliable and there to answer the call when needed. Thanks for your call, Stephen A. I appreciate you. Continue doing everything that you're doing.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Debo in Dallas. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Debo?
Devo's still a man, number one, still a fan. Stephen A., welcome to Dallas, man. I'm happy to know that another true fan is in the city to help me fight these Cowboys. I'm sorry.
Cowboys? That's what you call them, Cowboys?
The Dallas Cowboys. They cry
I like
every
that.
time we beat them. But anyway, hey, man, real quick on Tom Brady, I'm not jumping on that bandwagon saying that he's done because he's old. New England is just running into what the Steelers have run into for years and years throughout the playoffs, which means that, remember, last year we had to play New England without Le'Veon Bell.
Correct.
The year before that, we had to play Denver without Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown.
Correct.
Not to mention last season, we went through the whole season without Martavis Bryant because he couldn't stay off the what? The weed.
No, I'm only the one. I'm the only one that's allowed to do that, bro. I'm the only one that's allowed to do that. Go ahead.
You're right, sir. I apologize. But they're just running into injury. So I'm not – I hate if when all the analysts start to say, well, Tom Brady didn't have this weapon or that weapon or that weapon. Well, it's what the Steelers have been running into for years. So stop making excuses for them. This is just the first game. It's not panic mode. But let's see how they respond and see if they're the true champions that they are and just come back. So I would love to meet them again in the AFC Championship and see how we fare up against them. Everybody fully healthy, but it is football. So regardless of who's there, we're going to have to see how it come out. So,
listen,
here's
the deal. Here's the deal. The Steelers secondary is suspect. Even though they got Joe Hayden now, I got to see them show up defensively before I'm going to believe in this team getting back to the Super Bowl.
Let me tell you what the true problem with our secondary is. We don't get pressure on the quarterback anymore.
Of course.
We have to come out of our traditional defense. And that is New England is tailor-made for the defense that we run. They can beat us. The last time we beat New England, we manned up on them. We put pressure on the quarterback. We didn't give the receivers a free release, and that messed with the timing of those patterns. That's the way you beat them. Put Tom Brady on his back to where he started complaining and fussing at players and slamming the ball. Exactly what KC did to them is the way you beat New England. You keep the pressure on.
Got it.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Chicago, Washington getting better. Dodgers getting worse. It's getting very interesting in Major League Baseball. My time of the year with baseball is approaching. My Yankees better make the damn postseason. That's all I know. There's going to be hell to pay. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. One of the other things that I want to do before I get back to the phones is read y'all a little story here. Texas A&M coach Kevin Sumlin, a man I genuinely like, a good man. Didn't have a good day losing a 34-point lead to UCLA. Obviously, he was on a hot seat, deservedly so, because when you work for a university like Texas A&M, good things are happening, immaculate facilities and beyond. People are at heightened expectations. They have heightened expectations. And 8-5 doesn't cut it. But he is a good coach. I know he's a good man, and I'm very fond of him. I was very distressed to hear what he had to go through. Apparently, his wife, Charlene, received something after Texas A&M gave up the 34-point lead in Sunday's last-minute season opening loss to UCLA. She received a note that said, quote, "You suck as a coach. You are an N-word and can't win. Please get out or else." That's what it said. Obviously, the wife was aghast over it, said, people of 2017, please tell me how any part of this is okay. And to the sender, did it occur to you that a child may open this letter? That's what she asked on Twitter in response. Kevin and Charlene Sumlin have 4 children together. And somebody sent this to them, presumably to their home or something like that. In fairness to Texas A&M University, their president, Michael Young, and athletic director Scott Woodward confirmed that the letter was sent to the Sumlin family home. And they issued this response, quote, we unequivocally condemn this disgusting and threatening letter. There is no excuse for hatred, and as a community, we will not allow the ignorance of some to intimidate any member of our community, end quote. Are there still some of you out there who don't believe racism is alive and well? I mean, how much evidence do you need? And one of the things that I've mentioned, and I've mentioned on the airwaves before, is that, particularly when we were alluding to black folks and some violence on the part of police officers and things of this nature, I said what the black community has is an issue. When you're asking yourself the question, why is it that white folks get arrested, but black folks end up getting shot? That seems to be the case. Well, naturally, somebody like Breitbart News decides to quote me, and they want to make sure that they highlight this. Essentially that per the Washington Post, 258 white people have been shot and killed by police in 2017 compared to 141 black people. First of all, I said it seemed to be the case. Secondly, and more importantly, 258 to a population that makes up 66% is entirely different than 141 in a population that makes up only 13%. None of it is good. Nobody should be harmed fatally, unnecessarily, and unfairly. If you're not a criminal, if you're not armed, these things shouldn't be happening to anybody. I don't care what ethnicity you belong to. But the reality is clear. We can sit up there and talk about people getting shot and killed or whatever the case may be. I was alluding to specificities like unarmed black men posing no threat. We haven't seen nor heard of white folks protesting that that's happened to them. So it wasn't about the number. It was about the specifics. But I just thought I'd highlight that. Lawrence in Dallas, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hi, Stephen A.
Go ahead, man.
Big fan of yours.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, big fan of yours. I just have a question. I've always been a Cowboys fan, but I've always been against Jason Garrett. I'm a disabled veteran, and I know a true leader of men when I see one, and he's to me he's always lucked into. We've always had 3-8-8 seasons with him, and then 2 winning seasons. And the last one was with Dak, and then we had another losing record with him. But
so you've had 4 losing seasons to 2 winning seasons with him. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just can't stand him. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels like. I don't know.
No, you're not the only one that feels like that. You're not the only one that feels like that. There's plenty of people that think like that because they know that he got the job because Jerry's fond of him. We know that he got the job because Jerry loved him. He was the Golden Boy as an offensive coordinator. He was getting paid what Wade Phillips, the head coach, was getting paid. And he was clearly the coach in waiting. Completely and entirely unfair to Wade Phillips. But that's what Jerry Jones wanted to do. We all know that. We all view Jason Garrett as relatively a puppet. I mean, Jerry Jones is the president, the GM, the de facto coach in a lot of people's eyes. We all know that. But at the same time, are we going to knock Jason Garrett for taking the job as the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys? Are we going to knock Jason Garrett for getting paid what he can get paid? We ain't going to do that. We're going to simply recognize it for what it is, Lawrence, and go from there. I appreciate the call. That's what we're going to do. And by the way, Lawrence, we appreciate your service to this country as a disabled veteran. Thank you for your sacrifice. 866-729-ESPN is the number to call. That's 866-729-3776. Hour number 2 up next. We'll get more into these games coming up for week 1 of the NFL season. We'll have our resident handicapper, RJ Bell, on the line with us, and you'll have me. You know what that means. Don't touch that dial.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Stephen A. Smith Show here with you for the next hour over the airways of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Before I get back to some calls on football, let me go to my man Rick in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. What's going on, Rick? How you doing, man?
I'm good, Stephen A. How are you?
Talk to me, bro, because I know you want to talk about the Dodgers. I said, lady, let me hear what Rick has to say.
Well, first, more than anything, I want to say I'm a very huge fan, and you're the baddest man in radio sports history, my brother.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Go ahead. What's up? What's on your mind about the Dodgers?
This is what I got about the Dodgers, and I want to know your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know basically if maybe what's going on is a locker room issue. I don't know if anybody's been talking about it. Obviously, there's no speculations. I know a couple of years or last year we had the Puig issue and this and that. But I'm starting to think there's something maybe going inside the locker room that's getting to be what it is in this whole frustrating season of where are we going to go? What do you think, Stephen A?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't heard it, but I will tell you this. You got Kershaw, who was out for 5 weeks with his back injury. You got Alex Wood, who seems to be tiring. You got Yu Darvish. We all know he's inconsistent. He was inconsistent in Texas. He's inconsistent now. Okay? You got Jensen as your setup guys. But you got to understand it. So when you think about it from the standpoint of your bullpen, for example, the Los Angeles Times asked this question: do they have the bullpen setup guys for closer Kenley Jansen? You're talking about guys, that had an ERA above 5 during this losing skid. Think about that. An ERA above 5. So you got Corey Seager's elbow. You got to wonder whether or not he's okay. You got Cody Bellinger. He's got to stay strong, even though he's playing those extended minutes. You got the injuries that you have to deal with. I mean, these are the kind of things that happen as a baseball season wanes. You got to be careful about all that. I don't know if it's locker room personnel. You can't tell me it's a locker room issue, okay, when you were on pace to win 116 games, you were 91-36, and then over 13 games, you go 1-12. It must be some attitude issues. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it, Rick. It doesn't make sense.
You know what? I got to agree with you to very much a certain extent.
If you had attitude issues, Rick, if you had attitude issues, you wouldn't have went 91-36.
Exactly.
So it ain't that. It ain't that. I'm not buying it. Not buying it at all. But Chicago's coming. Nationals coming. Diamondbacks even coming. Dodgers better get it together, man. They better get it together. Appreciate the call, man. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. Let's go to Bob in Queens. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Bob? How are you?
Hey, Stephen A. Great show, as usual.
Thank you. Go ahead, man.
Listen, a couple things. One is Colin Kaepernick. Right. The only thing, I'm an ex-military and police officer.
Okay.
So the only thing that's ever bothered me about Colin Kaepernick is when he wore the socks. Because basically that said, everybody in one profession is the same.
Got it.
And you can't generalize.
That's fair. That's fair, Bob. That's fair, Bob. You can't generalize.
Right. And, and people generalize too much. So
you're right.
Let's say, right. So that's the only thing. He could do whatever he wants. Now, the Michael Bennett situation, I think we should, find out all the facts. Right. But my opinion, from what little I know right now, is as a police officer, when you go into a situation where there's possible shots fired, you go in there nervous. Okay, and you're trained to do the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go in there, now I don't know if he was all by himself, crouching, or if there was, if he was just solely picked out and there were 10 other people in there, then I'd say something's up. But if he's the only one in there, we don't know what the final disposition was, right? It turns out there was nothing. Okay. But if he was the only one in there and he's crouching, then he runs.
Okay.
I don't know what else a police officer can do.
Well, let me explain.
But then to chase him.
Let me explain, okay? First things first. You were former ex-military and ex-police officer, correct? That's what you said?
Yes.
So I'm going to respect your expertise. I'm not going to defy anything that you have said. I'm going to respect it. You would know better than me. You're the former police officer, not me. So I totally understand and respect where you're coming from. And anybody that calls up with any problem with what you said, I'll defend you to the nth degree, Bob. Just know that, okay? But here's what I would like you to understand. You're trained. We're not. You're Michael Bennett. You're crouching behind something and you're unarmed. If you heard a shot, maybe it was because you were trying to avoid getting hit by some bullets, okay? Maybe you were trying to avoid being harmed. That's number one. But number two, and more importantly, you are right in this sense, Bob. I can understand a police officer pointing their gun at you, saying get down, if they think that you've been involved in some kind of criminal activity or whatever the case may be. My problem was, even after you had him cuffed, you were pointing the gun at his head. If the man is laying on his stomach, with it cuffed with his hands behind his back, Bob, can you explain to me why our officer is still pointing the gun at his head?
Probably not.
And telling him don't move or I'll blow your MFing head off. Could you explain that?
No, that's unprofessional.
That's what I'm saying. So what I'm trying to say to you is that if you can point to something that was unprofessional and excessive at that particular moment, isn't it going to bring everything in question to you?
Not really. I mean, you only bring into question the parts that are questionable. Everything that led to it was
No, I agree with that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about once you've apprehended him. I'm saying because you got to remember, his issue was with the apprehension. It wasn't with being questioned. It wasn't with being told not to move. You grabbed him. He was unarmed. You told him to get on the ground. He's on his stomach. You've got your knee on his back. He's cuffed with his hands behind his back, and still there is a gun being pointed at his head with an MF bomb thrown in his direction about don't move while he laying on his stomach and his hands are cuffed behind his back. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I think up to once he's cuffed, I don't see the cops did anything wrong. And if you were in the cop's shoes, because nobody ever puts themselves in the other person's shoes. I'm not black, but I try.
I understand.
Okay.
I truly do.
Put myself in other people's shoes. I definitely know the situation with cops. Before he was cuffed, everything they did, I think you would do. Okay, because you don't know yet.
That's fair.
The job was with a gun. It wasn't like it was a stolen wallet. Okay,
but Bob,
gun involved.
But Bob, listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying to you. No one should disagree with you with that. I totally get it. But what you can't do is then turn around and ignore the parts when he was cuffed. Because if all of this transpired with him not being cuffed, but he ends up walking away alive, we have very little to say. The problem is that it's on video. The man is cuffed, and you're still cussing at him with a gun pointing to his head, telling him don't move, while a cop's knee is on his back and he's cuffed face down. That's the problem.
The adrenaline is flowing. So
say what?
A cop has to know when to cut it off, and it's once the person's cuffed.
Right. The difference between what I'm saying is to me, in the end, what you have to understand is you're absolutely right about the points that you're making before he's cuffed. But once he's cuffed, the fact that they were still conducting themselves in that manner shows you how their mentality may have been even before the cuffs took place. And that's the thing various communities are pointing to when they talk about treatment by some in the law enforcement community against certain ethnic groups. That's the stuff that we got to address, Bob. And when we have more time, we can. Thanks for the call, but I think you make very valid points and you're very, very fair. We can't assume that the cop did the wrong thing before the man was cuffed. We can only point to what we saw after he was cuffed. But in that moment, if a shot is fired and a crowd is dispersing, you're a police officer. You've got moments to make a quick decision. And your life is on the line. So it's understandable in certain respects. But not once he was cuffed, Bob. Not once he was cuffed. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Our resident handicap extraordinaire. It's football season. So how can we have football season and think about handicapping these games without talking to our boy, R.J. Bell? He's up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shades.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Always an honor and a privilege to have my next guest on because, as you know, when he arrives, it is time to talk football. He's a resident odd makers with the Associated Press, founder for pregame.com, resident handicapper right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Ready to start off the 2017 NFL season. His name is the one and only R.J. Bell, and he's on the line with us right now. What's going on, R.J., man? How you doing?
Stephen, it's good to be back. Football season is here. Let's do it.
Football season is here, no doubt about this. You talked about, before we get into the NFL stuff, what shocked you about last week? And I saw Howard, as a 45-point underdog beat UNLV. I saw Liberty, the paragons of virtue at Liberty University beat Baylor. College football's definition of Satan, for crying out loud, all the stuff that's been going on at that university. And then, the list goes on and on. We saw Texas A&M blow a 34-point lead to UCLA. What stood out in your mind about what happened in college football last week?
I think you touched on it. It was UNLV losing right here in Las Vegas, 45-point underdog. Now, that's obviously a really big number, but let's think about how big of an upset that is. The biggest upset ever. There's never been a college football game with a 40-point underdog that actually won the game. If you had bet just $100, right? Like you're tipping the valet, right? Imagine you just threw it on Howard. You would have won $55,000. 100 won you $55,000. It was that big of a long shot. By the way, this never happened. But if somehow it did, if you said Howard and then Liberty on a parlay, both of them have to win the game, $100 would have won you over $4 million. That shows you how unlikely those two upsets were.
Wow, R.J. Bell right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. You know what? Before we even get into these NFL games as well, Ezekiel Elliott, you notice all of this stuff going on with him and his domestic violence situation with the National Football League that provoked them to suspend him for 6 games. He's appealed it. An arbitrator upheld the decision. Now it's going to the courts. We don't know what's going to happen. But they play Sunday night against the New York Giants, his Dallas Cowboy teammates. And I'm interested in knowing how many points is Ezekiel Elliott worth? What would the Dallas Cowboys be going into this game if he were not playing compared to what they are now that we know he's playing?
A lot of people are going to be surprised by this one. He's worth about ½ a point per game. So right now they're a 4-point favorite. Dallas is hosting the Giants. Without him, maybe a 3.5-point favorite. That's it. And it's not that Elliott, Stephen A., isn't really good, but wasn't Le'Veon Bell really good last year for Pittsburgh when he was suspended? Well, those adjustments were about a half a point per game. It really shows you that in the NFL, we know quarterback is king to a whole other level than any other position. But running back is, I don't want to say undervalued, just not very valued right now, especially, and I watch you pretty much every day on First Take, and I've heard you talking about it. The question is, how good is Elliott really relative to that offensive line for Dallas? How many running backs could put up really big numbers with that amazing offensive line? So I think most people think Elliott's really good. We can debate just how good. It doesn't matter. The best running backs, a half a point a game right now in the NFL.
Cowboys favored by 4 going into the Giants game Sunday night. Why is that?
Well, home field is 3, right? We always talk about that. So this is saying Dallas is a little bit better than the Giants, plus they have home field. I lean Giants here. My question is this. Elliott, the machinations, the back and forth, I mean, that cannot not be a distraction. It has to be a distraction. And you got to wonder physically, is he going to be there 100% with all the distraction? And then you think about the Cowboys at home. This is a team, last 40 times they've been a home favorite. They've only covered the Vegas spread 12 of the 40. Now, the Giants, they're a popular team, obviously a New York team. And if you look at their offense last year, it trended very poorly. Last 6 games of the year, they were scoring less than 14 points per game. So it's not that I love the Giants. I just think I'm getting more than a field goal, and that puts the value, in my opinion, on the Giants.
Raiders, 2.5-point underdogs at Tennessee. Why?
Well, Tennessee is one of the wise guy favorites. So we had the whole spring, the summer, for the bettors to bet Super Bowl futures, bet over-under win totals, all different ways, who's going to win divisions. And Tennessee got so much professional support, a lot of optimism. Obviously, they've had amazing draft choices, or at least high-up draft choices. They got Mariota. How good are they going to be? A lot of optimism. On the other hand, the Raiders, check this stat out. This is almost hard to imagine. The worst 12-4 team in history, the Raiders last year, if you look at point differential. And I think that is very important to remember, is when you win a lot of close games, the record looks mighty good, but it's a lot of luck, right? If it's a 42-yard field goal at the end of the game, you make it, you win, you miss it, you lose. Are we really saying making or missing that means all that much? No, that was an even game. But the Raiders were so lucky, and I'll say it, lucky, winning those coin flips. Their record looks much better than I think they really were last year. And because of that, Tennessee is where the wise guys, they really like them against the Raiders.
Packers favored by 3, hosting the Seattle Seahawks, even after Seahawks got Sheldon Richardson. What's up with that?
Which I think Richardson for the season is a really nice pickup. Week 1, I'm not sure how much. I really remember back to home field. Home field's 3. I think Green Bay has the second best home field in the NFL. So their home field is a rare 4. They get an extra point. So now if the line's only 3, what does it say? It says Seattle is supposed to be the better team. And maybe I agree with that by a smidge. But you know what I know? Seattle is not a very good road team. They are great at home, probably the best. If I had to rank home fields, it's going to be Seattle 1, Green Bay 2. But if you go back to 2011 for Seattle, they've had a lot of good seasons since, obviously, right? Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl victories. In all of those years, there are only one game, the Seahawks, above 500 on the road. So if you're winning Super Bowls and you're still 500 on the road, you're not a very good road team. Green Bay's a great home team. I think one of the better bets of the week, Green Bay laying only the field goal. By the way, Aaron Rodgers, this is his current streak. 37 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Wow. RJ Bell right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Steelers -9 at Cleveland. Why?
This is the trend game of the week. Now, think about this. They're on the road, Pittsburgh, and they're almost favored by double digits. That's some optimism with the Steelers. Obviously, Hayden at quarterback is a nice addition. That was the weak position for the Steeler team, that defensive backfield.
Right.
Here's the trend of the week, Stephen A. The Browns in season openers, and this is since the franchise resumed in 1999. So in 18 season openers, 1-17 straight up for the Browns, 4-14 against the spread. You could say, well, they weren't very good. They lost a lot of games. Well, the spread is supposed to equalize any team, no matter how bad they are, and they're still 4-14. So I think there's some logic behind this, which is Cleveland hasn't had good organization, good coaching, and week one is when the good coaches tend to excel because they've had the whole preseason to get ready. So I don't necessarily want to lay 9 with Pittsburgh, but no way am I betting the Browns in week one.
Hey, well, we saw the best coach in the game struggle in week one with Bill Belichick last night. So
what do you think? What do you think? What's your takeaway from that game?
I think injuries. I think that and the combination that they were feeling themselves and relaxing just a little bit, hearing all that talk in the offseason about how dynastic they may end up very well being. I think it got the best of them, and I think Bill Belichick and Tom Brady will definitely rectify that situation. I got to get ready to go, so I want to get to a couple of more games real quick, RJ. Eagles -1 at Washington. Why?
Eagles, another team that's getting a lot of wise guy love. But think about the home field again. Now, if the Eagles are favored by 1 at Washington, that means if this game were in Philadelphia, the Eagles would be a 7-point favorite. I just don't think the difference between these teams is that much. And you could actually bet this game a month or two ago, and Washington was favored by 2.5. So I think there's a lot of love right now for Wentz and the Eagles. I just think this line has moved too much. I like the Skins as a home dog.
Cardinals favored by 2 at Detroit. I'm interested in this game because I want to see what Matt Stafford's going to do now that he's got this contract.
Yeah, well, Stafford, I mean, if you really look at the way that he's played since Jim Bob Cooter, I love saying it, I can't lie, became the OC about a year and a half ago, he's had amazing stats. Now, late last year, Stafford had a hurt hand, and it really affected his play. But here's what makes me like Arizona here, is Detroit trailed in every game except one in the fourth quarter. Think about that. If things would have went against them, now it would have taken a lot of bad luck. They could have been 1-15.
Right.
So I think it's back to those close games. Detroit got really lucky in those close games. You can say it's skill, but long term, no one tends to win close games more than any other team. So thus, I think in the end it evens out. I like Arizona, a small favorite at Detroit.
Los Angeles Rams +3.5 at Denver.
I tell you, I'm a little optimistic on the Rams, just a little bit. And here's the logic. They moved, obviously, from St. Louis last year, and it was a big distraction. People tend to underestimate these are human beings. They might be millionaires, but they still got to worry about their kids' school, and the wife has to find a new gym, and all those just reality of distractions. And I think the Rams, it should trend up this year. But we know, Stephen A., that this is a league of quarterbacks, and I am such a big skeptic of Goff that I'm not anxious to play the Rams really in any situation. I'm going to wait and see, but unless Goff shows me something very different than last year, I think he's one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in the NFL.
Let me ask you this before I let you get on out of here. Well, speaking of worse, how can we negate talking about the New York Jets? Super Bowl odds out of Vegas, they are dead last, 1,000 to 1. The next best, 31st, is the 49ers at 455 to 1. The Jets are 1,000 to 1 in terms of Super Bowl odds. Are they really this bad? Have you seen something this bad in a long period of time?
So one thing we do in Vegas is have season win totals, over under a certain number of wins for the 16-game regular season. Right now, the Jets season win total 3.5. So if they win 4 games, if the Jets win 4 games, they've exceeded expectations. That's how low the expectations are. I actually like the over in that, and here's why. The narrative has started that the Jets are tanking. I don't believe NFL teams tank. And because we've seen so much in the NBA of tanking, I think people believe it. But, hey, listen, you've been on the sideline, Stephen A. These guys, if you don't try 100%, you're going to get hurt. I think the Jets do better than people think. They're still a bad team, but I think they win 4 or 5 games, much more likely than 1, 2, or 3.
The founder for pregame.com, the official odds maker for the Associated Press, our resident handicapper right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, the one and only R.J. Bell. Always appreciate you, buddy. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Stephen.
Take it easy. R.J. Bell right here with Stephen A. Up next, Damien Woody, former Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, former New York Jet, current NFL analyst for ESPN. He'll be live with yours truly in a minute.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line. NFL analyst for ESPN, contributor to the show First Take. Of course, former Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, former player for the New York Jets, the one and only Damien Woody is on the line with us right now. What's going on, Big D? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good, Stephen A. What's good, baby?
What the hell happened to your New England Patriots last night? Could you explain
Calm
that?
down, man. Chill, man.
I'm just asking the question. I mean, why you got to be all sensitive? Why can't I ask a question?
You already started mess, man. It's too early in the season for all of that. Listen, there's still this adjustment, man. I'll say this. I'm gonna give Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs all the credit in the world because they went in Foxborough, committed 138 yards of penalties, had more turnovers, and ran away with the victory against the Patriots. That you rarely ever see that happen against the Patriots in Foxborough. So, Alex Smith, I don't know what we're witnessing right now, but is this a new Alex Smith at the quarterback position where guys throwing the ball all over the field, man? If that's the case,
couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe he even attempted some of those passes.
Hey, listen here, man. When you got a young bull behind you and Patrick Mahomes, it makes you get a little bit of get right in your game. So he stepped up last night, man, and played a heck of a football game.
Damien Woody right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. So should we walk away with more concern for the New England Patriots or more props for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I want to go with more props with the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, the Patriots have earned the latitude, a little leeway. We've seen this script before from the Patriots where everybody wrote them off and then they come back and win the Super Bowl. So I'm definitely not going to do that. I do see a couple things that do concern me. One, Gronk doesn't look the same as the Gronk we've been normally accustomed to seeing. He looked like he was just lumbering along. He didn't look quick and nimble like we've been accustomed. I don't know if he's still getting his legs up under him or maybe it's this is the beginning of the end. I don't know. It's too early to say. They missed Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman is big time. And what you saw last night, man, Tom Brady didn't have that security blanket in the middle of the field, and the Kansas City Chiefs just clamped down on all the other receivers, man. But, again, I got to give props to the Kansas City Chiefs. Their game plan, man, they exploited all types of matchups against New England Patriots, whether it was running backs out of the backfield, Kareem Hunt just running wild all over the field, Tyreek Hill exploiting that matchup. Got to give them props, man. Kansas City Chiefs look really good this week.
Let's go into the 3 big games this weekend, Damien. Damien Woody right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Obviously, the Cowboys and the Giants Sunday night. How are you viewing that game? Break it down for me.
Well, listen. One big aspect that a lot of people keep an eye on is Odell Beckham, man. Odell Beckham, you're talking about one of the most prolific wide receivers in the National Football League. You take him away from the New York Football Giants, they're a different offense. No disrespect to Brandon Marshall and Sterling Shepard and all those boys, but Odell Beckham Jr., the offense basically runs through him. So if he doesn't play, man, that's a huge blow to the New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. And with Dallas, listen, if Zeke is playing, which I guess that's the situation, they're going to eat clock, man. They're going to run the ball, eat clock, going up against that Giants defense. That's going to be a big time matchup. You're talking about a Dallas offensive line that's probably arguably the best in the league going against arguably the best defense in football in the New York Giants. Whoever wins in the trenches is going to win the football game.
And
who do you think is going to win in the trenches?
I'm gonna get an edge. I'm gonna get an edge to the Giants. I'm gonna get an edge to the Giants. The Giants' defense is big time. They are big time. I really do feel like I think the Dallas Cowboys offensive line is gonna take a little bit of a step back this year. The Giants got some horses up front that can get after it.
Okay, real quick because I only got a couple of minutes left. When we think about Seattle going to Green Bay, talk to me about what you think is going to transpire with that game. Did Seattle's defense? Now that's a big time defense. Offensively, I got questions about them, but I got a lot of questions about Green Bay and their defense. I got to tell you that. So where are you with it?
Oh yeah. I got the Seattle Seahawks in that game. Man, that they got a monster pass rush that's going to be able to get after Aaron Rodgers, and we know Aaron Rodgers is a magician in the pocket and outside the pocket, but those boys got Earl Thomas back this year. Remember, Earl Thomas got hurt last year. They were a different defense when he was out. They got him back. They got Sheldon Richardson and Michael Bennett and all those boys up front, man, to be able to get after Aaron Rodgers. So if they make Green Bay one-dimensional and have forced Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball all over the field, man, it's going to be a long day for that Packers offense.
What about the Eagles and Redskins? How interested should we be in this game? How potent do you think either of these teams are going to be within the NFC East picture?
Well, listen, I think the NFC East period is going to be one of the more competitive, compelling divisions in football anyway. Philadelphia, when I look at the Eagles, listen, Eagles got weapons. They got a really good offensive line. The defense is pretty good. We got to see what the secondary looks like. Carson Wentz, to me, is big. I think he definitely can have a breakout year this year. Going against the Redskins, Kirk Cousins. One thing about the Redskins, man, they've had a lot of injuries in the preseason with a lot of their skill guys. So that's going to be a big-time matchup. Look, you can't afford to be falling back in a division as competitive as the NFC East. So got to get it done. You got to get it done. One of those teams got to get it done.
Last question to you. Who do you have coming out of both conferences in terms of your preseason prediction? Who's meeting in the Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, I got New England and Seattle. I got New England and Seattle.
Why not Atlanta? Why not Atlanta?
Because I know how hard it is the year after you go to the Super Bowl. I know they lost the Super Bowl, but still, you're a team that played in the Super Bowl, and teams that go to the Super Bowl, the teams that play them, they bring their A game every week. And I don't know if the Falcons will be up for the challenge to get all the way back to the Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't see it happening.
Well, I sincerely hope that you in shape and you ready to go because it's the start of the football season, which means you're going to be going up against me on First Take every week. I don't know if you're ready. I'm just trying to look. I'm just trying to be there for you. I'm just trying to be there for you.
I'm going to tell you what, man. I don't want to see you running away from me and being somewhere remote and all that. Bring your hand in that studio and look me in the eye.
I got to work, man. Ain't nobody scared of you. I got to work.
Man,
what do you want me to do?
Don't be scared of the big boy, man. I'm going to be sitting at the table ready.
Oh, please. You better be ready. You better be ready. I'll see you next week then. I'll see you next week, Damien.
All right. I'll be looking for you.
Yeah, don't stutter. You just better be ready. Bye.
Bye.
All right, bro. Damien Woody, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN. That's my brother. That's my boy. I love messing with him. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. This is Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Let me just go down this list, these NFL games coming up this week. And look, I expect the Jets to lose to Buffalo. Buffalo is at home. They should win that game. I expect Chicago at home to lose to Atlanta. I expect Cincinnati to beat Baltimore because Joe Flacco ain't ready. I expect Pittsburgh to beat Cleveland. Arizona and Detroit could be very interesting. I'm going to give Detroit the edge in that game because they're on their home turf, and I'm going to assume that Matt Stafford is going to have a good game to justify his dollars. But I wouldn't underestimate Arizona. They got something to prove after the year they had last season. Jacksonville, I believe, will lose to Houston. Even with Savage as their quarterback, I think Deshaun Watson will be in the starting quarterback sooner than later. I'm picking Tennessee to beat Oakland. At home, with that running game with Mariota, with Oakland suspect defense, beast mode of them boys going to be fierce on their home turf. But opening the season on the road, I'm going to give Tennessee the edge. I think Philly's going to go into the nation's capital and beat the Redskins. I don't know anything about Indy. I don't think that they're that great with Andrew Luck scheduled to be out. It's hard for me to pick Scott Tolzien, or Jacoby Brissett to beat L.A., but you know what? I want to. Just because L.A.'s stupid for not having Aaron Donald sign. But I'm going to roll with L.A. to win this game, their home opener. They'll stink as the year progresses. And I'm picking Seattle to beat Green Bay. And I'm picking the Cowboys actually to win Sunday night. Because Odell Beckham Jr. is 50-50. But that's just me. I'll talk about the Monday night games on Monday. Let's get to the phones. Let's go to Mike in Brooklyn. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Big Steve? This is Mike, Concierge Mike. Real quick, because I know you ain't got much time. Let me just say this about the black community real quick. Listen, great cops are not born. They're created by leaders. Leaders are created by the parents that raised them. So, like you said earlier in the week, accountability is everything. We need to be accountable for our kids. Stop doing what we've been doing and start getting respect. And that's the only way we're going to get respect from other people is when we show them that we deserve it. With that being said, do yourself a favor. All the guys at 57th Street says to give your daughter the greatest hug. We miss her. Number two, Cowboy fans, please stop calling Stephen A. Smith's show airing out dirty laundry. He doesn't need extra information. He doesn't need extra ammo. He got enough of that. If you really want to do something like that, don't air out your dirty laundry on the Stephen A. Smith show because he's already hating on you fans. So cut it out. Bring it to us. Cowboy Nation over here. That's all I got to say. Miss you much, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Cowboys, you know what? Count your blessings. Count your moments because you ain't going to win too much this year. I don't care what anybody says. You ain't going 13-3. Might go 10-6. Maybe even 11-5. I say 10-6 wild card spot, and then you lose again in the playoffs without winning a playoff game. That's what I foresee for the Dallas Cowboys. That is your destiny. That is what I believe will happen. Okay? It's just the way it goes with you guys. But we shall see. Right now, I could see I'm fantasizing about Pittsburgh after New England lost last night. Fantasizing about Pittsburgh meeting Seattle in the Super Bowl or meeting Atlanta. But I still got a funny suspicion the Patriots are going to hold on to dominion within the AFC. Enjoy week 1 of the NFL season. I'll holler at y'all Monday.